All right, so moving into the West on this NBA preview, starting with number 8 in the West. Mike, who do you got?
Yeah, I just want to say, first of all, the East was exciting. Love talking with you guys about it, but the West is really where it's going to come down. It is crazy loaded. I mean, these teams are all so good, but, I mean, we all have to crown a champion. We all have to put our 8 seeds down. Probably going to be a little bit different, a little bit of discrepancy. May get a little heated in here, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. My 8th spot, I got the Blazers. I mean, you just have that core of Damian Lillard, C.J. McCollum. I don't necessarily think that they're really that great to kind of take down any other seed in the West regularly. Any other of the playoff seeds in the West regularly, which obviously hurts them. I mean, just the strength of that opposition. I think even in the East, they'd probably be like a mid-tier team, but I think here they kind of see the bottom of this playoff picture. I mean, Damian Lillard is great, and C.J. McCollum is a nice tandem to that piece, but I really don't think that that they're going to be any better than a low seed here in the West.
Yeah, I agree with your take on the Blazers. I'll get to them in a second. But my 8 seed is the San Antonio Spurs. Believe me, I really wanted to pick Dallas here. I did. Luka Doncic is fantastic. You just can't count out Greg Popovich. The guy he and Bill Belichick are the 2 greatest coaches maybe of all time. Dejounte Murray is a very underrated, very solid point guard. LaMarcus Aldridge. I do like the Spurs here to sneak into the playoffs at 8.
Yeah, so I always say 3 things in life: death, taxes, and the Spurs in the playoffs.
Yep.
They're making it at the 8th seed. I would have loved to pick the Mavericks. I think Luka Doncic and, of course, Kristaps Porzingis are both generational talents, and the Mavs are going to be good for a while. But I think it'll take some time for KP to really get back into the swing of the NBA after that ACL injury. And you just can't count out Greg Popovich, one of those coaches that he always seems to have it, especially when he's got DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge at those forward spots. I think this team's going to be perfectly good. They're going to make the playoffs, but I don't really see much more after that for the Spurs. So moving on to number 7. Mike, who do you got at number 7?
Yeah, I got the Spurs at number 7. I do think they're going to be better than the Blazers just because they have those 3 kind of key pieces, and Murray at the point guard, DeMar DeRozan, who, I mean, he was one of the best players in the NBA a few years ago. It feels like we're writing him off all of a sudden at small forward, and LaMarcus Aldridge, of course, a great scorer down there at power forward position. I think that they're going to be slightly better than the Blazers. That's why I have them at the 7th seed. And they may even be equal in terms of talent, but Greg Popovich just brings them over the top. I mean, he can make any group of players mesh and sort of work well together.
Yeah, definitely. But my 7th seed is who you had at 8, so Mike and I flipped these 2. I picked the Portland Trail Blazers. This might be somewhat of a hot take, but I think CJ and Damian Lillard are the best backcourt duo in the league. Particularly just because Klay Thompson's out. If Klay Thompson was playing, it would be them. But I would take Dame and CJ over Steph and D'Lo at this time. Personally, might be a hot take, but it's what we're here for. Absolutely take them any day of the week. I think Yusuf Nurkic is coming back later in the season, so he'll be a huge add down the stretch. They can just flat out score. Damian Lillard is fantastic.
Yeah, Trailblazers are great. I'll get into them in a little bit. But at the 7th seed for me, I actually have hot take the Warriors right here at the 7th seed.
Whoa.
Wow.
Whoa.
I think without Klay for the foreseeable future until maybe March, April, till maybe the All-Star break, I think this team's going to struggle a little bit. Steph is going to carry them, of course. We'll talk about Steph in the award show. But I don't think that they're going to be great, especially with losing, of course, Kevin Durant as well. I think these Dubs are going to struggle. They're going to be a scary, scary team in April, in May, during the playoffs. And you will not want to play them in the playoffs when Klay's back fully healthy. But I think until then, I think they're going to struggle a little bit without Klay. It's really going to be the Steph and Draymond show. I don't know how much Draymond has left. He really slowed down these past couple of years. Maybe he comes back with that extra floor space after Kevin Durant leaves with those more touches. Maybe he gets back to his old form. But I think it'll take some time for them to adjust, especially with D'Angelo Russell coming in without Klay Thompson. I think this system's going to get a little bit disrupted early in the season. So I got the Warriors at number 7, kind of a hot take. They're better than this, and they will be in the playoffs, but just for their standings, I don't see them being too high. So moving on to number 6.
As begrudging as it is for me, I have the Warriors at number 6. I mean, it's pretty scary considering basically this team won the championship 2 years ago. Excuse me. No, this team, minus with the team without Kevin Durant, won the championship basically over championship contenders multiple years in a row about, half a decade ago. It's just incredible when you had that KD, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, one of the most underrated sort of Joe guys out there, but they also added D'Angelo Russell this year. I mean, they just got some really fantastic pieces, but the West is just so stacked. That's why, I mean, in the East, they'd probably be competing for one of those top 3 slots, and here they're just, they kind of have to even fight for a playoff position. And definitely the Klay Thompson injury is going to hurt them a lot. Like you said, Amir, I think that going into the playoffs, you definitely should be afraid of the Warriors. But as for right now, I have them at this 6th seed until we see anything better.
So I'm a little different. I have the Warriors a little bit higher than you guys do. At 6, I have one of my favorite teams. I think of them kind of as the West version of the Pacers, Utah Jazz. Again, defensive first team, Mike Conley, Rudy Gobert. Very just solid all the way through, no real stars. But the Stifle Tower there at center, I love him. I love what he brings to the table. The Jazz, Quinn Snyder's a great coach. I think they're a very well put together team. They will certainly be in the playoffs, and I think they have a shot to be an upset kind of team and make a run from these bottom 3, bottom 4 seeds.
Yeah, so I guess I'm going to disagree with both of you guys. I have the Trailblazers at number 6 for me. They always seem to do better than you think they are before the season. Like last year, they were the 3 seed. The year before, I think they were the 4 seed. So they always seem to play up to their competition. They always seem to be playing. They always seem to end up higher in the standings than you really predicted earlier. So I think having them at 6 is a pretty good place. They added Hassan Whiteside that'll really shore up that center position on defense, especially. And of course, they're bringing back Yusuf Nurkic, who had that nasty injury last year, and of course that backcourt duo that Bryce was talking about, CJ and Dame. They got shooting everywhere. They have some good bench pieces, so I think the Blazers are going to be pretty good this year. Moving down to number 5.
Yeah, number 5, I have the Houston Rockets. I mean, talk about a backcourt duo here. Russell Westbrook and James Harden coming at you. I'd be very afraid to face them. They also have a good center in Clint Capella. I'm afraid of the Rockets. I mean, the Rockets are probably one of the teams with the highest variance this year because, 100%. I mean, Harden and Westbrook did play together in Oklahoma City a long time ago. And now they've developed as players. So coming back, are they the same personalities? Maybe, but they definitely have different games. I mean, Harden's learned how to take over games and be the man. And now Russell Westbrook in the interim has also been the man in Oklahoma City. Now it's going to be interesting to see how those personalities gel and how things work out together there. I mean, if they come together well, I could see them skyrocketing to the number 2 seed in the West. But if they don't, I could see them having a Lakers 2018-2019 season. So I definitely want to keep my eyes on the Rockets. One of the more interesting storylines in the NBA this year.
Definitely. Speaking of the Lakers, I have them at 5. The LA Lakers. I think everyone's we got to pump the brakes on the hype train like Mike used to say with the Browns in the NFL. Yes, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, 2 of the top 5 players in the NBA. Maybe not LeBron anymore. We'll get into that. But Anthony Davis, without a doubt, top 5 player in the NBA. My question is, where's the outside scoring going to come from? They traded away the majority of their backcourt. They traded away Brandon Ingram, who is a polarizing player but was on the rise. Kyle Kuzma was great, but he's probably going to come off the bench with LeBron and Anthony Davis in there most of the time. So that's my question mark with the Lakers. But again, the NBA is a league about star power. You know, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, you're going to make the playoffs. It's just a matter of where I think they would slot in here at 5.
Yeah, I think they have the best star duo in the NBA, and so I'll get to them in a little bit. But for me, at 5, I have the Jazz. They just play great defense, of course, with Rudy Gobert, and they even added a great defensive point guard in Mike Conley. So that was a huge trade for them. Joe Ingles is still there. He's a sharpshooter from outside. And, of course, can't count out Donovan Mitchell. And so he's going to be a beast. He's coming into his 3rd year. He's over that sophomore slump. He's going to get right back into it. So, yeah, Utah Jazz at 5 for me. And they could make some noise in the playoffs, especially with that stifling defense. And with that, we're moving up to the number 4 seed. Mike, who do you got?
Yeah, number 4, I have the Denver Nuggets out there in the thin air in Colorado. Obviously, they have the all-around one of the best centers in the game, maybe even one of the best players in the game, Nikola Jokic, who really emerged in the postseason last year. I mean, just had a fantastic run. And then at the power forward position, they have Paul Millsap, who takes by my man Marcus Stroman's motto, height doesn't measure heart. I think he's just kind of a very great player out there at the power forward position. And then they have Jamal Murray at the point guard, who's really is developing into one of the better players in the NBA as well.
Yeah. At 4, and I'm the last person to mention this team now, the Golden State Warriors. Something I think people are forgetting when they talk about the Warriors, that this team is a complete team even without Kevin Durant. Yes, Kevin Durant is a top 3, top 2 player in the NBA. Losing him hurts. Losing Klay Thompson hurts too. Steph Curry's phenomenal. D'Angelo Russell does make up for Klay Thompson at least a little bit. I don't think Draymond Green's due for as much regression as we think he is. They're still a great team. Steph Curry's going to lead them until Klay Thompson comes back. Obviously, they're not the powerhouse they once were, but certainly I think they're good enough to be a top 4 seed.
Yeah, so for me, at number 4, I have the Los Angeles Lakers. People might be saying, oh, but they're way better than the 4th best team in the West. And I agree with you, but similar to how I talked about the Philadelphia 76ers, I think the Lakers are going to do a little bit of load management, especially with their 2 best players, LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis already has picked up a couple injuries, so I do expect him to miss some games. And of course, LeBron, he had that groin injury last year, so I do think he's also going to have some load management, play around 65 games along with Anthony Davis. So just like the Sixers are going to drop them a little bit down in the standings because of that. And of course, the top of the West is obviously stacked. This is going to be a big year for Danny Green shooting from the outside for the Lakers, and of course Kyle Kuzma. This is kind of a prove-it year for him as well. So I see them as the 4 seed in the West, but I do think they're going to make the Western Conference Finals actually. So I think they're a top 2 team in the West. Moving in next to number 3.
All right, gents, it's story time. I have the Utah Jazz at number 3. Back when I played NBA 2K17, it was I made the best franchise ever. And you know that the 3 players I started that franchise with, it wasn't a fantasy draft. I took the Knicks roster, traded away a bunch of first-round picks. Win now. That's what we're all about in New York. But do you know I love having a good front court. Do you know who I traded for?
Rudy Gobert.
Not only Rudy Gobert, but Derek Favors, only 28 years old, and I think arguably one of the best, just solid, sort of ground and pound power forwards in the game. You know who I then signed with that in that franchise?
Mike Conley.
Exactly, to a 5-year contract. He's a fantastic point guard who can weave in and out of space, fantastic passing ability. He can make anybody look good. And then they add one of the best emerging young players in the game, Donovan Mitchell, to that roster. It's just fantastic. I'm really excited for what we're going to see out of Utah this year. They do have the Stifle Tower down there. Obviously, one of the best back-to-back Defensive Player of the Year award winner in Rudy Gobert. I'm really excited for this Jazz team coming into this year.
Jazz are great. I'm excited to watch them. But at 3, we talk about star power all the time. Houston Rockets. The issue is going to be gelling how are Westbrook and Harden going to play together again. I don't think it's going to matter. It's going to prevent them from being a 1 or 2 seed, I think. But it's not going to matter about them being a top 3 team in the West. They're fantastic. James Harden has debuted his new one-footed step back, whatever you want to call it. He is dangerous. Russell Westbrook is a dynamic point guard. Obviously, he might be the best finisher of any backcourt player not named Ben Simmons. They're fantastic. Clint Capella is great too.
I've also been working on my James Harden training routine. I kind of mirror what he's doing. So my game is up to the same level in my pickup games. I've been working on that if you guys want to come down.
Nice.
The
gym behind the hoop.
I'm sure your step back is Kobe-esque right there.
Yeah.
All right, so for me, at the 3 seed, I have the Los Angeles Clippers, and for me, the story with them is similar to the Lakers and the Sixers. A lot of load management on this team, especially with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Paul George, like Anthony Davis, has already picked up an injury. He's not going to play for the first maybe 3 to 4 weeks of the season, so they might not get to as good of a start as they would have hoped. And of course, Kawhi Leonard could play like 60, 65 games like everyone else, so I think they're going to load manage him as well, just to keep him fresh for the playoffs, because as the Raptors saw last year, a fresh and healthy Kawhi Leonard can just take over the NBA. So I have the Clippers at 3. I do think they're the best team in the West. I do have them going to the NBA Finals. But in terms of the standings, I think they're gonna drop to the 3 seed this year. And for the 2 seed,
let's get on the hype train, baby! Lakers! The Lake Show is for real. They might as well come to New York and be on Broadway, because this Lake Show is a sellout. I mean, they've got LeBron James, one of the best NBA players ever, and they add Anthony Davis, who's just fantastic, probably one of the best, if not the best, power forwards in the game. Defensive superstar at the power forward position, just fantastic. And then they have pieces around them like Kyle Kuzma at the shooting guard, probably coming off the bench. Danny Green, who's fantastic, helped that Raptors team take home the title last year. I think that the Lakers are really going to have a fantastic season down there. Basketball is back in LA, and I think that the Lakers are certainly going to show that.
I'm going a little bit colder than LA. Yeah. We're going to Denver. Denver Nuggets. You guys talked about him before, Mike talked about him before. Nikola Jokic, dude, guys, the Joker. He's unbelievable.
He's legit.
He is just fantastic. What I love about the Joker the most is not the shooting, it's the passing. His vision from inside, he'll kick it out to anyone. Jamal Murray, I think, is underrated. Very good player. Tenacious player, too. I love his heart. I love his grit. Denver Nuggets are going to make some noise this year.
Yeah, so for me at the 2 seed, I'm going out down to Houston, down south, and I'm picking the Rockets. Of course, they added Russell Westbrook to replace Chris Paul, one of the best players in the NBA, and Russell Westbrook. So he's obviously dynamic, elite at what he does. He's going to rack up a bunch of triple doubles with James Harden. So they now have 2 triple double machines in that backcourt. I think this is the best backcourt in the NBA. 2 former MVPs. I don't know what else to say. These guys are just going to be good. But, of course, the one problem with them is how do they do in the playoffs? Well, we're not talking about playoffs. We're talking about the regular season. And they've both excelled in the regular season. As I said, both been regular season MVPs. So I see them up at the 2 seed. They have Clint Capella. They still have PJ Tucker. They still have Eric Gordon. This team is legit. If they don't get in each other's ways, I think they could make a deep playoff run. But we'll have to see about that. Rockets 2 seed for me. And let's go atop the West.
Yep, number 1, I have the Los Angeles Clippers. I mean, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, the big acquisition of the offseason. It's going to be just fantastic basketball, a fantastic basketball season in LA. The Lakers are only one half that. The Clippers are the second half, and I think they will emerge as the top seed in the West. I mean, they also have role players like Lou Williams and Zubac at center, and Patrick Beverly, just a phenomenal defender at the point guard. I mean, I think the sky's the limit this year for the Clippers. Yeah.
I also have the LA Clippers at 1. We talk about star power, but I don't even think that's the strength of this team. You mentioned the role players. Lou Williams he should be a starter. He's a starter on any other team. He's fantastic. I think the X factor this season is Ivica Zubac. This guy was incredible. I don't know how they just snaked a trade away from the Lakers for him. He's a very dynamic center, still only 23, I believe.
Yep,
very young, very moldable. He'll work well with Kawhi and PG.
Yep, another guy to mention with the Clippers is Montrezl Harrell, great defender on the inside. But for me, atop the West in the standings, I'm going to go with the Denver Nuggets. As you probably assumed, I think Nikola Jokic is amazing. I think he's an MVP candidate. He's one of the best passing bigs we've seen ever in NBA history. He's just been great. He can shoot from outside, he can score at will, and he can really pass the rock. So I love the Nuggets this year. They were the 2 seed last year behind the Warriors. They were only 3 games behind, so I see them pretty much carrying on that momentum. They're bringing back pretty much the same core as they had last year, so I think their offense is going to evolve a little bit. Their defense is still going to be solid, so I got the Nuggets at the number 1 seed. Ascending team, I got them at 1. Yeah, so I guess with that, we're going to move into the NBA Finals prediction and our champion. So, Mike, I'm going to kick it off with you. Who do you got?
My finals matchups is my 2 number 1 seeds going at it. The Bucks out of the East and the Clippers out of the West. I think that the Clippers will emerge victorious just because they have those, 2 really experienced pieces in Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard basically took the Raptors on the back, and now he has his sidekick out there, Paul George. I think that superhero duo is really going to bring a championship back to LA, but not to LeBron's team.
Out of the East, I have the 76ers emerging victorious, getting finally, trusting the process, getting back to the championship, but they will just fall short to the LA Clippers. Team's just too good. Kawhi Leonard's going to go back-to-back.
Yeah, I guess we're going to make it a clean sweep. I'm also picking the Clippers to take home the NBA championship. It's pretty boring, I know, but I think they're going to take it over the Milwaukee Bucks. I think the Bucks are going to take that next step this year. They're mad about losing last year in 6 to Kawhi Leonard and the Raptors. I think they're going to be the best team in the East. Giannis is going to take that extra step in the playoffs. I think they're going to make it through the East, through Philly, through Boston. And, of course, the Clippers, what can you say about these 2 guys? Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, two of the best two-way players in the NBA right now. Paul George was bringing it last year before he got injured. He was an MVP candidate. And, of course, Kawhi Leonard, as we saw last year, probably the best player in the NBA right now. So this combo, along with that bench, Lou Williams, as these guys mentioned, Montrezl Harrell, Patrick Beverly. This is going to be the best defensive team in basketball, and as everyone says, defense wins championships. Your LA Clippers are NBA champions this year. Sorry, LeBron, you're going to have to wait another year. So with that, that wraps up our NBA prediction show. We have an award show coming up just to predict the awards for the NBA season, so stay tuned for that. If you want to follow us on Instagram or Twitter, links are right here. Check us out. Check out more of our videos if you're into fantasy football on our YouTube channel. And peace out, guys. Have a good day.